All right, we'll see how we do with the sound. If it becomes more of an issue, wave at me, and what I'll do is try to fix the issue and record the class later and send you guys the link. So let's just take a pass at this and see how it goes. Next Monday, I'm not sure about yet. It's a holiday. I might be going out of town. I'll let you guys know in the next few days or so. So what we're going to do today is a standing practice, and the idea behind it is going to be oppositional support. So in our poses, a lot of our poses, they're very familiar to us, but what makes them interesting is that we look at them from different angles and enter them through different doorways and kind of bring our attention to different ideas within the poses. So today we're going to be kind of focusing on what's the oppositional support in some of our standing poses. So we'll begin in the less dominant cross-legged position and just take some time with that to adjust so that you feel aligned, you feel spacious, and you feel the support of your legs. And take some time to lift and spread your chest. The sternum especially brings some awareness there. There's a point that BKFA refers to called 0 point, where vertical and horizontal extension and expansion cross. And so if you think about the arms, you think about the spine, that intersection is really the breastbone. So there's a lot of power there. Lift and spread the chest. Roll the shoulders back and bring your hands together in front of your heart. And close your eyes, look down, away from the brain. And just take a few breaths to not only acknowledge your breath flow, acknowledge your alignment, but really bring some awareness to that 0 point where the vertical ascension of the spine meets that horizontal breadth of the chest, the shoulders, the upper back. And see if you can just really feel the spaciousness in both directions in the torso. And also the full circumference of your breath and the rib cage as it expands and contracts in your body. Maybe allowing some quiet wish from your heart to enter your practice today. And when you feel ready, just take a moment to keep what you have going alignment-wise, but bow toward the heart. And let your hands come down to your thighs, and on an in-breath, raise your head, let your eyes come open. And welcome. So we're going to start the practice with downward facing dog, and we're going to be taking it two ways. The first way with the support of our hands. So if you have a wall nearby, the best option is 2 blocks meeting that wall that you can put your hands on. And if you don't have a wall nearby, you can take a blanket and just place the hands on the blanket so that the heels of the hands remain on the mat. And you get a little bit more of a different relationship with your hands into the floor that way. So either placing blocks to the wall or hands to the blanket. Make sure you're not fully on the blanket because you'll slide. So just the heels of the hands on the floor. And then make sure you're coming into the position from that, from the knees under hip line and making sure the arms are vertical or slightly wrists in front of shoulders. And on an exhalation, bring the toes underneath and extend your legs. And when we give the upper body a little more support, it changes the pose. We feel a little bit longer in the upper body. We can bring more awareness to the extension of the torso, the extension of the spine, the lift of the hips. And then keeping that, start to draw the heels down. And with your hands elevated, bring some attention to the lighter parts of the hands and try to bring weight into them. And just stay for a couple more breaths. Make sure your neck is not straining, your neck is long, it's passive. And now go ahead and lower the knees and come into child's pose. Separate the knees wider than your hips so your torso can really come down nice and low. If you want to, you can keep your hands elevated and kind of bring a little more activity to the arms, or you can take the hands directly to the floor. Try to take the tip of the tailbone down toward the floor. And now we'll try it another way. You can come up out of your child's pose, and we're going to support the heels now. Just bringing a little bit of our attention to the lower half of the body. So again, you have the option to work with your blanket. Kind of depends how much distance exists between your heels and the floor when you're in the pose. You can also work with blocks. And you don't need to have the blocks against the wall for this one. And you might need to come up once and just see what your distance will need to be so that you're meeting the heels to your prop. Again, we want the toes and the ball mounts to not be on that prop. So it's the heels of the hands, the heels of the feet that we're working with. And then once you have your setup ready, you can exhale and extend your legs. You don't really want the propping in the arches of the feet, so keep those free and clear. And just drawing your extension line all the way from the wrist to the hips. And start to anchor into the heels. Keep your kneecaps lifting. And notice what those poses like when you have the heels supported. A lot of times, for most of us, they're floating in the air, and we don't have anything to resist against. So as you anchor into the heels, curl the sitting bones up away from the heels. Kneecaps lifted, extend your toes forward. Breathe. And these first poses are really just tapping into the power of the legs. Standing poses use the power of the legs to create more mobility and extension in the spine. Good. So find your way back to child's pose. And you can choose to keep your arms extended, or if your arms need a little rest, fold the arms, use your hands as props for the forehead, or use your arms as props for the forehead, and just take a few moments quieting down. And now we're going to find our way to standing. So we're still, these first few, maybe the first third of this class, we're just kind of trying to access the power of the legs. So we're going to do a few Uttanasanas now. And the first couple we're going to do with heel and ball mount support and blocks. So they're going to be our Arda Uttanasana, meaning our half standing forward bend. So you'll probably want either your blocks or your chair in front of you. And the first version we're going to do, we're going to elevate the heels. So we'll want to use a blanket. And you can place the blanket towards the back of the mat under your heels. Because the blanket shifts everything forward, create some opposition, anchor into your heels more proactively. So don't just let the wedge of your blanket tip you forward like you're downhill skiing. Put some weight in your heels proactively. Try to keep your legs vertical, hips in line with heels. Extend the arms up, reach up, create space in your torso. And then think about the pelvic bowl, pouring something out of the front rim, extend forward. And take your hands onto the blocks. Make sure they're in line with your shoulders. Look forward. And reestablish the balance of the feet. So again, anchor into your heels. Lift your kneecaps. Open the backs of the knees. On an exhalation, spread the length of the trunk down toward your thighs. And notice where you feel the effects of this variation, where the crossing of the heels kind of influences the pose. And I'm not going to name it for you, I just want you to kind of sense what you feel with the heels elevated. And not only with the heels elevated, but with the proactive effort of putting weight back into your heels. Good. And you're going to look forward, come back through Arda Uttanasana, step off of your blanket. You can move your blocks kind of out of the way for a moment. We're going to be elevating now the front feet. So we want the heels down, the toes and ball now is elevated with the same blanket, so move it forward. And once you step on it, again, make sure your arches of your feet are free and clear. Your heels are definitely touching the mat. And just notice standing upright where the weight tends to shift back. So now be more proactive stepping into your front feet. Hips align with heels. Good. Reach up. Lengthen forward. And we'll start with Arda Uttanasana again. So blocks in line with shoulders. Look forward. Try to still sense your hips above your heels. Anchor into the front feet. Don't let the blanket just tip your weight back. Step into your ball mounds and toes. Exhale, come into Uttanasana. Bow deeply, facing your legs, letting the head hang freely. And now see about how does this version show up physically as sensation. I know for me, I can tell right away this one taps into my calf muscles more than the previous version, but that could be different for you. And just stay with it for about 5 breaths. And when you finish the next exhalation, look forward, come back through the half forward bend, step backwards, you're coming off your blanket safely, and then you can grab your hips and inhale and come up. And just step the feet together, join the legs and feet, come into mountain pose. Put your arms back a little bit, roll your shoulders back, lift and spread your chest, come back to that 0 point at the breastbone, really where the vertical and horizontal lines of the torso meet. And move the head if you feel like your skull is not right over your spine, and lengthen from the chin to the base of the skull. Good. So, opening eyes, we're going to take a prop-free version, except if you need the blocks for your hands, of Uttanasana. So you can move the blanket out of the way. And if you're able to, leave your legs and feet joined. More classically, this pose is down with legs and feet joined, so the hands can press down right outside the feet, to the outer edges of the feet. Always separate the feet if you need to for balance or other reasons. Separate the feet. So from your mountain pose stance, raise the arms, lift the torso. On an exhalation, spread the sitting bones, lengthen forward. Come into Arda Uttanasana, blocks again in line with your shoulders, whatever height you need. Look forward. Balance the weight over the feet, front and back. Make sure it's equal. Keep your legs firm. And on an exhalation, spread the trunk toward the side, face the legs, and take your hands lower and any amount closer to the outer feet that you can. Tucking the chin in toward the chest. 5 deep breaths. Finishing the exhalation, come back through Arda Uttanasana, walk the hands forward, look forward, bend the knees if you need to, take the hips, and come all the way up. Good. All right, beautiful. Shake out your legs if you need to, release the arms, let that go. We're going to transfer into some other standing poses with that idea of oppositional support, starting with triangle pose. So I've placed my blocks to each end of my mat so they're ready for us. And because there's several poses we're going to work through, we're not going to jump out and jump in, jump out and jump in. We'll just jump out once for each pose and travel from right to left directly. So starting from the center of the mat, you can either jump or step out and take a nice wide stance. And just go ahead and move from the root of the right side to your toes and kneecap and center to thigh face right. Toe in with your left toes. And see that the right heel intersects the arch to the left foot. Turn your palms up for a moment and just access the effort of the upper arm winding from the inner upper arm to the outer upper arm. And keeping that, revolving the palms down. Take an in-breath, and on your exhalation, extend to the right. Take your right hand down to your block so that it's in line with your shoulder. And before activating wise actions, because a lot of you have been in yoga for many years, you know exactly what to do. Try to forget all that and just feel how we've created imbalance in the body. We've shifted to the right, and we have gravity always pressing us down. So oppositional support. Find some ways to bring attention to the left. So for me, I'm thinking about my left hip point moving left. There's some oppositional support. Find some way to create lightness where you feel heavy. I feel heavy in my right arm. Reach up through your left arm. So keeping your attention for today on your hips, your pelvis moving to the left, and the top arm lifting you to create some oppositional support in this pose. In other words, to equalize it, to take those imbalances and to make them more neutralized with opposing efforts. Okay, so just a few more breaths, just kind of tuning into that. Nice. Take that top arm, use your in-breath, plant that back heel, and come out of it, all the way up. Turn your toes forward, and like I said, we're just going to move directly to the left side now. Take the left toes out, right toes in. If you need to reactivate your arms, take the palms up, fence the upper arm action, and then try to isolate elbows to fingertips down. Inhale, exhale, extending left. So we're moving to the left. We're now going to move down as well. We're taking the bottom arm down. First, just fencing the imbalance. We've shifted things off to the left. We're feeling pushed to the floor. So right away, move something to the right. The hips are a great place to start. And lift the top arm. Create some levity where you're feeling all that gravity. And just sustain those oppositional efforts for a few breaths. Just to really imprint it in your cells. Nice. Okay, anchor into the back heel, use the top arm, use the in-breath, use the crown of your head to come up. Turn your toes forward. And relax your hands to your hips. Wonderful. We'll keep the wide stance. We're going to come into another pose, warrior two. Moving the feet just like we did for triangle. But of course, we're going to be bending the right knee. So toeing out with the right, toeing in with the left. Extend the arms again. On an exhale, take the right knee over the right ankle. So things feel somewhat balanced, but when we turn the gaze and look over the right hand, our gaze, as we know, pulls us around. So we tend to be pulled to the right here. So really, and I told you this before in other classes, but imagine someone's grabbing your left wrist and holding firmly, or they're also gently pulling you back. So think about your left wrist here. And really just keep your attention there. And just stay for a few breaths, feeling how that kind of equalizes the pose. It brings a sense of balance to the pose. You might also feel your torso pulling to the right here, so wind the torso from right to left. Wind the flesh of the abdomen from right to left. Good. Push down through the right foot to straighten that leg. Your arms need a rest. Take hold of the hips. Transfer your stance so that you're going to be pointing left toes out, right toes in. Extend the arms again. On an exhale, take the left knee over the left ankle. And as soon as you turn and look over those left fingertips, just take a moment to feel what happens in the body before you correct, before you spontaneously jump into being that perfect yogi. Notice what happens in the body. We get pulled. The abdomen starts to turn. Everything starts to face the left. So counter that. Anchor into your right wrist. All the trunk, left to right. Soften your gaze. And be more interested in those oppositional supports than in where the effort goes, where the eyeballs go. Good. And push down through the left foot. Take your hands on your hips. Turn your toes forward. Whew. Big breath. We're going to do side angle pose next. And each of these poses, you can find your own oppositional supports. I'm just naming some today that I think are a little obvious in my body, but there's no wrong answers. So you can find your own in your poses, places that source your effort. So for side angle pose, I've chosen to focus on the back heel. So again, move your legs so your right toes point out. Your left toes move in. Come back to your warrior two stance. Good. Take an in-breath, and on your exhalation, extend your torso right. Take your right hand down to your block. Place it in line with your shoulder. And then take your left arm straight up. Revolve the entire left arm so that your palm faces to the right. And then align your left biceps with your left ear. So we have this giant splash that's moving from the left heel through the left fingertips. And we have energy moving, lots of effort moving, lots of weight moving to the right. So to counter that, step deeply into your left heel. Keep attention in your left heel. And try to sense that your side body, the left side body, the extension line through the left fingertips is only as good as how anchored that left heel feels. Just a couple more breaths feeling that. A big tap root of your left heel. On an in-breath, keep that heel anchored. Use your top arm, use the crown of your head. Come up. Find your way all the way up. And transfer your feet. Left toes out, right toes in. If your arms need a rest, place the hands on your hips. And just because we're not jumping in and out each time, make sure you're still lined up. Left heel to the right touch. We'll find our way back to warrior two. We'll come into side angle pose. from warrior two. So on an exhalation, left knee over left ankle. Good. Another big in-breath exhale, extending to the left with the torso. Take the left hand down, align it with your shoulder, and take that top arm vertically first. Feel your 0 point of your sternum. Be aware of that. Revolving the right palm to face left. Aligning the right biceps with the left, right here. And first, just be aware of pose without wise action, shape without intelligence. Feel gravity on your body. Feel kind of some laziness. Just kind of notice that. And then start to tap into wise actions. And today, let the attention really linger in that rooted right heel. And then reach away from that right heel, which gives that arm more power, which opens up the side body more, which makes us feel more secure in this extension. Anchor into that heel. Keep attention there. And if you know all those other wise actions, do those too. But keep attention primarily in that heel. And on an in-breath, lengthen yourself out of the pose. Turn your toes forward. And let's take a moment to step back in and just kind of come back to mountain for a couple of moments. So extend your arms. Align the skull over the spine. Feel the firmness of your legs. Take the midline of the buttocks toward the front body. Press your thighs front to back. Keep your kneecaps lifted by squeezing your thigh muscles. Scan the surface area of your feet. Try to create more evenness. And feel that 0 point of the breastbone, where extension meets expansion. Good. And now we'll just release the efforts of mountain pose. We have two more poses that we're going to kind of focus on these ideas of oppositional supports. So the second two are warrior 1 and warrior 3, which means we're going to be facing the short end of the mat. So for warrior 1, we don't need blocks. We'll just move them off. We will jump out for warrior 1. So come back to the center of the mat. And when you're ready, you can step out as well. But find your way to a wide stance. And right away, take your hips. Moving from the root of the thigh, right side, take the toes out. And then toeing way in with the left foot, so that the left toes are almost facing the right end of the mat. And take a moment to rotate your hips so they're very level across front and back. And with your hands still on your hips, pin the elbows in, push the tailbone in a little bit, open up the left hip flexor, lift and spread your chest. Keeping that, raise the arms. Create extension, more extension in your torso. And on an exhalation, take the right knee above the right ankle. Okay, so first just notice that we have asymmetry in the legs. Right leg is forward, left leg is back. So what that tends to do is turn the whole torso. You're just going to distort this even more. You're going to exaggerate it. It tends to turn the torso away from that front leg. So to correct for that, we're going to, and this is a little bit challenging, it's physical, clamp the front leg toward the back leg and clamp the back leg toward the front leg. So there's the power of the leg helping us create more alignment in the trunk. Perfect example of standing work. Clamp the legs. So you should feel like you're moving the effort of the left foot from the heel to the toes, and you're moving the effort of the right foot from the toes to the heel. And hopefully you have the wise actions going, but for today, for all intents and purposes, keep the effort on that planting action. Good. On an inhale, just kind of raise yourself out of the bent knee position. Open yourself wide. Take your hands back onto your hips. As you're ready, we'll set up second side. So if your breath is all ruffled up and you're tired and your energy is flagging, just be in the center point for a while. And as you feel ready, you'll start to set up second side. Left toes out, right toes way in. Keeping the hands on the hips, revolve the hips to be more even. Clamp the elbows in. Push in on the tailbone, lift and spread the chest. Raise the arms. On an exhale, take the left knee above the left ankle. And feel how the torso wants to turn away from the front leg. So to adjust it, clamp the left heel toward the right toes. Clamp the right toes toward the left heel. And hold those efforts just for a few breaths so your body really gets it. And on an inhale, lift through the arms to help you straighten the left leg. Turn yourself to the broad side of the mat again and jumper step in. Back to mountain. And refresh yourself here. So whatever the breath is doing, give it space. Give it time. Big crashing waves of breath, great. Just stand there until your breath is smooth and steady. Beautiful. And if it's not smooth and steady, keep standing. And if it is smooth and steady, we're going to start to set up for the last pose. We're going to talk about oppositional support, which is going to be warrior three, and a little bit of a setup. So hopefully you have a chair nearby. What we really need of the chair today is just the high part for the hands. So it doesn't matter what your chair looks like, as long as you have something you can hold on to that's high. You're also going to work with your strap. And the reason we're using the chair is because the strap makes things a little precarious. So I'm taking my strap around my lower back. And we're not going to be jumping out. We're just going to keep facing the chair for both sides of this pose. So you're going to step into a big loop that runs from your sacrum to your standing leg foot, which we're going to start off with the right foot. Okay, so it's a little bit awkward until you come into the capital letter T shape, because the strap doesn't want to stay there, especially if you have not much of a butt. So you're going to have to hold it in place, and it might just help you to see what we're going to do. So I'm going to come into it right away just to show you where we're headed, because I don't really so much care how you get into Warrior 3 today. I just want you to be able to kind of get this idea. So if you want to come in carefully is the primary goal. And raise the left leg. We're gonna meet up there. Okay. So as you see, my strap is running around my sacrum and down to my right foot. I'm raising the left leg right away because I need that strap to stay. So go ahead and take the leg up as soon as you need to so that your strap doesn't slide away. What we're focusing on today is the idea that when we have one standing leg and one aerial leg, we tend to do the doggy at the fire hydrant. We tend to rotate the hips. We tend to exploit the standing leg and let that aerial leg slide away. So to bring balance, I want you to use the reference of your strap to your sacrum. you're probably feeling a lot of pressure into that strap on the left side of your back. That's a sign that your hips are rotated. So find a way to make the contact of the left strap to the back lighter. And in this way, you're adjusting for that imbalance. When you feel the left side of the strap is just as pressurized as the right side, you've gained some balance. You've equalized the pose. You've used oppositional support. Okay, so my butt's getting a cramp here holding this for a long time. So once you kind of get that imprinted, you feel it, we'll switch things out to the other side. So just be careful about it. Always the goal. Left foot's going to step on the strap. Right foot comes through the strap behind. You can have your legs free to lift in a moment. And then you want good contact, again, so that you can really feel that change when you make that transition with your own effort. So as you're ready, use the chair for support, hold it, raise the right leg. And again, feel like what we could do. If we fully exploit what happened, you're going to really be raising that right leg. There's a lot of pressure into the right strap. So find a way to make the contact of the right strap, right side of the strap, more equal to the left. And in that way, you're creating more balance. You're creating more alignment, which shows up as steadiness in our poses. And once you feel it, you've gotten it, go ahead and lower the leg. Find a way to safely step out. And we'll just see if we can revisit the pose without the strap, but still with the chair, just to kind of see if we can recreate that. So fingertips lightly to the chair. Right leg again will be our standing leg first. Step your left big toe back. Try to level the hips. On an exhalation, extend forward, capital letter T. And remember what you had to do so that you're not really pushing into that strap on your left back. Equalize the pose. Pretend the strap is still there. You're trying to rely on it less. You're pulling away from it rather than pushing it into it on the left side. And then come out of it. Step your left foot down. Take your right big toe back. And on an exhale, extend forward. Knowing that we could just kind of roll into our standing leg. So imagine the strap is still there and you're trying to lighten the contact of that right sacrum against the strap. Good. And come out of it. Chair can move away. We're going to wind down the standing practice with Arda Uttanasana. So this is wide legs. Head is supported in some way. So if you're going to go head to floor, you might build up some props. If you're going to go head to chair, you might use your arms to rest your forehead. So you choose what's a better version for you today. And we'll be in the pose about a minute, which will help kind of take the nervous system down a notch as we start to head into the final third of our class. Take a moment with your stance. We want to see that one of our own legs would fit between the feet. We want to see that the toes align with the heels. We want our legs straight, feet balanced. And then extending the arms up, extending the torso forward, taking the hands down and facing the head. And the more you can access the power of the legs to stay straight, to stay firm, to stay elongating, the deeper the torso will really start to surrender and the brain will quiet down more. Just another half a minute. You sort of reduce the height under the head if you're starting to elongate so that you keep elongating. And now gently start to come out by lifting your head away from the propping, moving your feet back together, heels in, toes in, heels in, toes in. And gently coming up to standing. So we're going to come onto our backs next. And we're going to be doing just a couple of hand to big toe poses. So have your strap with you and have a head blanket if you need one, so that your chin and forehead are more level. And I always like to remind people that the hand to big toe poses done reclining are also done standing. So these poses we oftentimes learn on our backs. If we learn them really well, we can do them standing one day really well also. So we're going to take the strap from the loop version we used for Warrior 3, and we're going to open it up. So just take the tail out of the ring. And we'll work with the right leg first. So start with your knees bent and until you have your right leg overhead. And we're going to work with the elbows down today. So wrap your hands and slide down your strap ends until the elbows hit the floor. And then extend your left leg. So once again, we have asymmetry here. You're doing this standing. Your left leg is your standing leg, your right leg is your aerial leg. So we kind of feel the aerial leg lifting and the right leg kind of moving away from us. I meant to say the left leg moving away from us. So to counter that, move some energy from your left heel up to your left hip. So kind of scrub your leg from heel to hip. And notice how that shifts the outer right hip down. Keep the right leg straight, keep your chin toward your chest. So it's a little bit of that same clamping action you used in Warrior 1. The legs like to pull away from each other, so clamp the right heel toward the left leg. And just stay a few breaths just to really get that, to feel it, to imprint it, to memorize it in yourself. And just to get it on the other side, we're going to bend the right knee, take the strap away, step the right foot down until you have that left leg up. And again, just slide down the strap till your elbows hit the floor. Extend your right leg, which is now your standing leg. And sense, before you recruit and employ wise actions, sense what happens, how things distort, how wrong actions get exaggerated. The legs are flying away from each other. The left hip is flying to your left shoulder. It's a mess. So see if you can start to adjust and refine it, bring balance. Bring the energy of the right heel up to the right hip. Magnetize the left heel toward the right foot. Clamp your legs together. Tuck your chin into your chest. Good. A couple more breaths. Beautiful. And go ahead and soften the left knee, Step the left foot down. And we'll just do the Arda Uttanasana 2 as our last handy big toe pose. So go back and take hold of right foot. Good. Elbows to the floor. Right leg is overhead, left leg extends. Find your straight right leg. Same planting action, hopefully it comes right back as your body remembered. And now pass your straps to your right hand. Slide down the strap until your right elbow is on the floor. Reach the left arm sideways. Take the right leg to the right. Good. And try to bring, this will remind you of your warrior three, try to bring your left sacrum back to the floor. Left sacrum is pulling away from the floor. Bring your left sacrum back to the floor and be more interested with that than how close your right leg is to the floor. Oppositional support. Okay. On an exhale, move the right leg back to center. Help your foot out of the strap. Take hold of your left foot. And start with the strap separated in each hand. So come back to the Arda Uttanasana 1. Extend the right leg. Clamp the legs together. And then passing your strap to your left hand so that elbow is down. Good support. Unfold the right arm out to the side. Scan your sacrum, notice the balance, and our work is to maintain it. So on an exhale, move the left leg left, and keep the attention on keeping right sacrum rooted to the floor. Your standing pose will only work if we know how to do this. There won't be a floor against the right sacrum when you're standing. Exhale to bring the leg back to midline. And then bend the knee and step the foot down. Good. I need to move your strap out of the way. One time here. Good. So we're going to take a bridge pose with a block and move your head blanket out of the way. So once you're ready, lift your hips and slide the block horizontally across your lower back. And walk the feet in until your heels really don't come a lot closer. They're just not going to move any closer. Make sure you sense your heels in line with your toes. Trevor, go. Go. And take hold of the mat with your hands. And as you grab the mat, try to fully extend your arms. So you're kind of pulling the mat away from your head side. And see if you can revolve the outer upper arms down to the floor and lift the chest. Some people like to continue holding the mat. For me, I personally like to keep what I just did in my shoulders and my shoulder blades, but now I'm going to turn my palms up. So it's really what works better in your body. I'm not grabbing my mat anymore, but feel free to keep doing that if that was helpful to you. Take the tailbone towards the ceiling. And really step into your feet. And notice how that helps you take the tailbone to the ceiling. So to move something up, we have to move something down. So take the tailbone to the ceiling by stepping into your feet. Without hyper clamping your buttocks. Don't make the butt do everything. Keep your chest and chin finding each other. And close your eyelids to your cheeks. Quiet the face. Keep the power of the legs really recruited so that you're able to maintain the wide action of the spine. This is the back bend. We need to bring that tailbone into the body toward the ceiling. Keep the chest lifted. Legs should be getting a little tired at this point. A couple more breaths. Now, you can stay where you are. You can rest and release the power of the legs, or you can go one step farther, extending your legs, resting on the heels, putting the toes above the heels. It's just a bit deeper of an extension. You have to work the inner thighs down. You have to keep moving the tailbone up, now without so much power in the legs. Keep the chest lifted. Nice. If you did extend your legs, go back to bending the knees. You can release the efforts of your arms, lift your hips, and take your block out from underneath you and rest your spine. And then spread your arms sideways. Lift your legs one by one at a time. And we're just going to finish before Shavasana with a little bit of belly turning action, a little bit of spinal twisting. Just remember this movement pattern is more of an L shape. So you're going to take the legs to one side and then up toward the shoulder line. So half of the movement is moving sideways, the other half is moving up. Reverse that pattern back to center. Exhale, move to the side for half of that movement, and then up. And then down, and then over. And try to move to the sides on the exhalation. Anchor the opposing shoulder side down to the floor. And let that opposing shoulder side dictate how far you take your knees. You uproot that opposing shoulder, back off with reaching the knees to the shoulder line. And when you feel like your spine is nice and supple, and you're ready to come into your Shavasana, you'll come back to center. You might squeeze your legs in, you might open the knees wide. Just do what you have to do, what the body is asking for, before final resting pose. And then start to set that up for yourself. Maybe head support comes back in, maybe something behind the knees. Maybe you're cold, you're going to cover up. Take some time setting it up, because we really want to be able to settle in and surrender the body. And once you feel like you're in very passive, supported, symmetrical alignment, close the eyes, look toward your cheeks. And with your exhalation, use that as a recurring invite to surrender your weight into the floor. Scanning your attention from your head all the way down to the feet. A global surrender of the physical body. Sense your body breathing by itself. awareness, our presence. Sensing the energy released in the body with the practice of our yoga today. Sensing our consciousness spread throughout the body. Let your breath be easy. Maybe starting to notice gaps between thoughts, between thought waves. Gaps between breaths. Let your next breath come through a little bit deeper, bringing more breath in and releasing more breath out. And when the time is right, returning to easy breathing, wiggling fingers, wiggling toes, rotating wrists and ankles, rocking your head, and then allowing that movement to help you bend your knees and elbows. And then moving to either side of your body. And from your side, take your hands to the floor. Let your head stay very heavy and pressing into the floor. Bring yourself up to seated. Head coming up flat. In a supported seated position with the shoulders back, bring the hands together in front of the chest. Lifting up on the breastbone a little bit, lifting the corners of the mouth, and looking down toward your heart. Take a nice breath in together through the nose, and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within